Megan Fenyo presents I Am Enough TV. Be your best self. Awaken the power within you. Transform your life completely through the power of ultimately believing you are enough. Hey everyone, welcome to I Am Enough TV. I am your host, Megan Fenyo, and I am so excited for today's episode. I have one of my fellow blonde bombshells, Danielle Rocco. I said it right. Danielle Rocco, founder of Devoted for a Soldier. Thank you so much, Danielle, for being here with us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited to see you.
Yay. You are coming to us from Boston.
Well, the Boston area, so 45 minutes north. And it's cold. Wherever I am is cold. That's all that matters.
I had to rub it in before we got on camera that it was like 80 degrees today here in San Diego. And you have snow, right?
Yes, and I have a sweater that's been giving me like static electrical shocks all day. So I'm not happy about being in the cold.
I know. Well, you're going to have to come and visit for sure.
I will do.
Definitely. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So one of the first questions I ask is, what does it mean for you to be enough?
For me to be able to sit with myself and be okay with it. That's what it means to me right now in this moment. I think it changes, but right now, that's it.
I love it. And I love that you said it changes, because I think for me, it totally did. It started very small, like when I started doing this work as I'm enough because I got out of bed this morning, and then it has evolved over the last 2 years. So I love that. So thank you for sharing. Let's jump right into it, because I know 22 minutes is not long enough for us to chat. We could do it for hours, but share a little bit about who you are, Devoted to a Soldier, your book, like everything that you're doing.
Oh gosh, it's so much. So it started as you know, and everybody else will know now, that I was a coach to high-level CEOs, a relationship coach. And it was great, but my life was off balance between work and my relationship, myself. So I switched it all into serving, our military. My son's a veteran, and it pulled at my heart. And so when someone said to me, well, what have you always done that nobody knows that you do? And I was like, well, I've always supported our military. I'm like that Marine mom. I'm still seeing, I'm still part of that community. And so I started doing that. I wrote a book on strengthening the family unit, because it broke my heart that, it has the highest divorce rate, and just they're falling apart. It just crumbles into all these other things, which led to a documentary, along with all of these events and me. And now here I am. I took on life insurance to be able to educate and teach, because things would happen. They thought they had it, then they don't. And so basically, I give my life devoted to a soldier. I've dedicated it to serving our country.
That is amazing. And I absolutely love your flag behind you. And I think that's one thing that really inspired me about you, is your love for giving back to veterans. As you know, I am a veteran.
Yes.
So I love all the work that you're doing to help veterans across the world. So thank you so much. Talk a little bit about, because, on the show, we like to get raw and real. Talk a little bit about some of the struggles that you've been through in your life and how you've been able to get to this point, and what allowed you to get to this point. What was that turning factor for you?
Gosh, I think I'm just a stubborn old Italian, really, when it comes down to it. Because sometimes I meet people, and even when I'm coaching them, and they just need like a suggestion, and they're like, they get it. They're like, oh my gosh, yes. And their life changes. But that's never how it's been for me. I had Jacob, who is now my veteran, at 16. That was God's way, I think. My brother says it saved me. I think he thought I was going to be a stripper or something. I don't know what he thought.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
But I was not that bad.
I can only imagine, my darling. I can only imagine.
And so that was like a big thing that I dedicated my life to my family. You know, I dedicated it to my father and raising and his company. I did everything. I mean, my brother and my father couldn't do anything without me. I paid the bills. I did, you know, the marketing. I did the finances. I coached. It was a gymnastics school. I did all of these different things. And I was so miserable. I loved it in the beginning. And then I was like, this is not what I want to do. This is my
Mhm.
dad's dream.
Yeah.
And so there were little signs that I ignored.
Don't we all? I ignored them for
Badly.
6 years, girl. 6 years.
Okay, this is like 23 years it took me to get out of
Ugh.
this. So like I said, I'm stubborn. And then I think God hit me upside the head again. You know, the first time was with Jacob. That was my biggest moment where I had to grow up and be a mom. I had somebody else to take care of. And then he was like, you're still not taking care of yourself, Danielle. You are, you know, putting it onto other people. So I was in a car accident that should have taken my life. Like the
Mhm.
engine was in the, you know, passenger seat. It was pretty intense. I just met somebody like in Florida that was visiting, drove by, knew the accident, like down to a T. He was like, that was
Really?
you. Yeah. So
And
this
when was this?
was 5 years ago. And I just met him
Oh, my
like
word.
2 months ago or last month. I just met him.
That's so crazy. Such a
Like
small world.
so small. So watch what you say and do, people,
I
because
know.
you don't know who's watching you. Um, so that was it, where I was like paralyzed in bed. Everything I knew, I was a professional athlete. I thought my, you know, crud didn't smell. Like I was so in my own ego at that time, thinking like I run the company, nobody can do anything without me, and you know,
Yeah.
and it was all taken away. It was, and it's, so that was not my last moment.
But it was a defining moment. You have many, many more moments ahead of
Yeah,
you.
I do, now that I'm thinking, well, gosh, I hope I'm get a quick learner now, or that doesn't even make sense, but you know, I'm faster to the take now. But then that was changing, and then we had a family dynamics where my brother and I had to leave our business because what we had dedicated our life to, our father started losing his mind. He has dementia,
Yeah.
and turned on us. You know, we have an evil stepmom, that whole story, and she made him turn against us. And so we're like, we have to leave. And then where was my identity? I'm not a mom. I'm no longer running this family business where the world revolved around me and everybody knew who I was.
Right.
I had no idea. Again, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, what the heck,
Yep.
Danielle? So I ended up, you know, I started doing a lot of, between the accident and that time, I started doing a lot of like soul searching, like, who am I? What do I want to do? I wasn't brave enough to do anything about it, but at least I was like
At
putting a
least you
foot
were thinking
forward.
about it.
It was a thought, I was trying.
Yeah.
But I was terrified, and I started coaching these CEOs. And again, that was great. I was like, okay, I found my place. This is about the time we met. And I was
Really?
picking
That
up.
was a year ago?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
It
gosh, girl.
happened.
I would have had no idea. We met just I always like to say this. So we met a year ago at City Summit and Gala in Los Angeles,
Hmm.
Oscar weekend. Oh my gosh. Just
Yeah.
a year ago?
Yeah, it'll be 2 years since I left my family business this May. So I had
Wow.
just started. And like when I said it happened, like at this time, I was like praying heavily and really just, you've got to guide me. I have no idea who I am, what I'm
Yep.
doing. I've got skill. I know it. I was so out of my, I was so humble at that time. I was just like, I'll do anything. I mean, I had my morals and stuff. So let me
Yeah.
get that straight. Let
No
me
stripping.
backtrack about that. I was
No
over
stripping.
stripping. We didn't have to worry about that anymore. Um, but I'm like, if it scares me, it's okay. I'm going to do it. So all of these like Fortune 500 men kept coming. Their marriages were falling apart, or
Mhm.
they didn't know how to connect with their employees. And so it was great. Money was great. Everything was great. And my own marriage was, that was not the path I was supposed to be. That was not. My own marriage went to the crapper. I don't know if I can swear, but to the crapper very quickly when I picked that up. So I think it was a lesson in knowing my value. Like, you can do whatever you want, Danielle.
Yeah.
You're not 16 and pregnant. You're not uneducated because you didn't go to college. You did run a company, a very successful company for 23 years, ins and out. You don't need those labels anymore. You are enough, right? That's what
Mm-hmm.
here's these guys that make multi millions of dollars a year at your beck and call saying, like, I need help,
Yeah.
And that was my last major turning point, where I really feel like I've totally turned into a different person from.
That is just incredible, because as long as you and I have talked, I guess I didn't realize it was just a year ago, basically. Well, 2 years ago after you left your business. But
Yeah.
so our stories are even more alike, because I walked away from my ex 2 years ago and lost my 6-figure income and was like, okay, now what? And look at what you have built in 2 years. Look at what I have built in 2 years. I mean, for those of you who are watching, literally the two of us, if we can do it, anyone can do it, honestly. Like, I mean, especially for me, because I'm still half a clueless about running a business. But, you know, I, that nudging feeling I had for 6 years, and I just kept ignoring it and ignoring it. And you did too. And then all of a sudden you listened to it, and now look at what you're doing. That is amazing. So incredible.
Thanks.
Um, so you got your marriage back on track, right?
I did. I mean, and that was a great, like, you want to talk about a relationship coach, taking a big lesson. It was huge and humbling. And I think the biggest lesson I learned, and I just actually posted about it today because it hit me so hard before this, was I love different. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to let go of trying to control how he loves. And I have to constantly remind myself of that to this day. I think we all need to. We all love different. It looks and it feels totally different. You have to be okay with it.
I love that you just said that, because I think we forget that. And also, you're a relationship coach. I'm a mental health therapist. You had to do relationship work. I had to go into therapy to work through my trauma. And it just makes us better at what we do, because we're able to understand what our clients are going through. But I love that. People love differently. And I think a lot of times in relationships, especially women, because sometimes we try to be somewhat controlling emotionally, right? And get our partner to like talk and this and that. But I love that, because it's such a good reminder that we have to let that other person love how they can love,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as you're getting your emotional needs met with that love, like, that's good. But you have to have your eyes open, per se, and be
Yeah.
willing to compromise on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's hard because sometimes it stings. I'm like, you don't love me. And I'm like, no, yeah, you do. It's
Yeah.
just.
Well, you and your hubby came to San Diego this past summer, and it was funny because we actually taped an episode for I'm Enough TV, but this is before I learned all of the timing and all of that stuff. We had a great time. We were here in my living room, but I got to meet you and your hubby, and it was so great to see you guys. It was a great time. But um, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned, either throughout your life or mainly in like the last 2 years, that you would love our audience to know?
Gosh, I think the biggest lesson is the ego piece of it, is really knowing the control that your ego has on you. Like, our egos are good for warning. They're not good when
Mhm.
they control you. And we don't realize how deep they go. We think, oh, I'm not egotistical. I don't have an ego. I love everybody and things, but no, no, no. Right there is a warning sign. Yes, your ego is running you right now. So really understanding and going into depth about my ego and how it plays and how it creeps up. And you've got to constantly keep in check of that. I'm a big believer when someone says they know everything and they've got it all figured out, that you better run far and fast away.
Exactly. And that was probably a red flag that I had from my ex-husband that I did not listen to. Whoops. Live and learn. Um, so I want to touch base back on something else you said. You mentioned the word values, and values is a huge part of kind of in my book when I talk about the step one, like rediscovering yourself. Like when anything traumatic happens, health, relationships, what have you, we have to rediscover ourselves. And you had said that you like you think about your values when it comes to like making decisions or things like that. So what are your top 3 values and how do you use that on a daily basis?
So, oh, my top 3 values. That is a tough one because I think every situation, well, one, is it going to lead me where I want to be and who I want to be, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I'm a religious person. I believe in God. I believe in everything is interconnected. You can't say one thing without it energetically vibrating into something else.
Yep.
So that is huge for me. Is it going to drive me to where I want to be? And where I want to be has nothing to do with how much money I'm making or who I'm with or the house I live in. It has to do with like a greater power outside of me. And then my other value is really knowing, I want to say this correctly, but knowing who I am and keeping my instincts in check because I have a bad mouth. I could go off and be like, I can get nasty. Um,
You and me
and
both. We look like these like, calm, collected, blonde haired girls, but like I can tell that you have fire in you and you know that I have fire in me. So
yeah, I'm like, so I have to really make sure that when I'm speaking when I know something is not in my truth, when I'm feeling, because I get that feeling now like, oh, something's wrong, I don't like this, I don't like these people,
mm-hmm.
or I don't like this situation, that I don't take that and portray it onto them. That is a very big lesson where that's something like, okay, why are you feeling this way? Are you trying to control that situation to make it different, to make it
Yep.
fit what you want it to fit? Because shame on you, Danielle, right? And keep your mouth shut.
I love it. And I think exactly kind of the same frame. I love asking that question because I use it as coping skills for clients. So I always say, how does your value of X influence my decisions, my behaviors, my actions? So like for me, I would say, how does this behavior honor my value of authenticity? Because mine are authenticity, integrity, and honesty. And how does this decision, honor my value of integrity? So, and it sounds like you're doing the same thing. And I love that because it can really be used as a coping skill to help us move from feeling stuck and like, what are we going to do with our lives to move us into something greater?
Mm-hmm.
So we have about 3 minutes left. I want you to share briefly um, what you do to help clients, how people can get in touch with you, any last pieces of advice, and then we'll ask the final question.
The final
The
question.
final question.
The final question. So you can, on my website, you can follow all my social media platforms. I always find it's easiest, just click there, click which one you like the best. Even Devoted to a Soldier is linked up onto that. So it's Danny Rocco, DANIROCCO.com. Basically, it's all there in a nutshell. And all that, like I said, the social media ones that you like, because I'm pretty much on all of them. I even dipped my toe into Twitter. I suck at it,
Oh,
but I just
you
like,
did, girl.
I just dipped it and I was like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing.
I have a Twitter account, but I don't use it. I used it a lot, like back in the day, like in my 20s and 30s, but now I don't know. So good for you, girl. I don't
Yeah.
know if I could do it.
Okay, but if you like that, I don't even know if that's on there. So I just had to put that up there. That's not
Yeah.
there.
Ah.
Did I answer all that? How they can follow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
you did. And then what type of clientele do you work with? Is it men, women, husbands, wives, couples?
So I mostly work with men because usually I make the girls cry because I'm
Oh.
blatantly honest. And I'm like, girl, you got to just suck it up. This is kind of your fault. Stop being, you're acting like a prima donna. So I don't do well, but like
It's okay.
if you're tougher, I can do it. So I normally work with men, usually on relationships, when I'm doing that side of it. And then when I do the life insurance side, obviously I work with the families because that's a family thing.
Yeah.
But my main target is like is men. I seem to mesh with them. I'm kind of a tomboy at heart,
I love
really,
it.
even though
I
I don't
love
look
it. I
like
love
it.
it. Okay, so one last question before we wrap up. What is your favorite mantra or affirmation?
Mm. It's hard because it's kind of like I am enough, but it's really again, I think they change on me. And so right now, I'm a woman and I'm going through some like, I don't even know what's happening to me. So it's basically looking at myself in those, we have mirrors all in our bathroom. This might be too much for people, but I don't know. But it's just being like, I love every single curve and every single part.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is where I am right now, because things are changing outside of my control. I'm like, maybe it's age. I don't know. I'm getting old. That's kind of as silly and maybe as vain as that might sound, but it goes deeper into my soul. I don't know. Does that make sense to
It
you?
totally
My
does,
soul.
girl. I
Okay.
love it. Don't second guess it. Don't
I'm
second
just
guess it at
like,
all.
I'm like, am I making sense? Because
You
sometimes what
are.
happens here doesn't always come out in the mouth, right?
Perfect. It came out perfectly.
Okay, good.
Thank you so much, Danielle, for just your heart, for your love for veterans, for all the work that you're doing, for being a blonde bombshell, and for
Yeah.
more importantly, for being my friend and for being on the show today.
It is my honor. I'm just blessed to have you in my life. So thank you.
Thank you. So we always like to end the show with my favorite quote, which is this: you are enough just as you are in whatever season you're in. And the more you focus and celebrate on that, the more you will live in your strength. Um, I Am Enough TV airs every morning at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Easy Way Network. And you can also find it on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV by searching Easy Way TV. Be sure to grab your free resources and all kinds of fun stuff on my website, and which is meganfenyo.com. You can order your free I Am Enough movement cards. You can get involved in the movement. So exciting, all of the stuff that's happening with the nonprofit. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember, in everything you do, be bold, be brave, be unapologetically you, because you are enough.